Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the Routledge History of Literature in English, Part 56. So let's dive in the world of literature. Today we'll be covering the portion of Georgian and Imagist poetry. The poetry, which is termed Georgian, takes its name from the King George V, who reigned from 1910 to 1936, but in effect it covers a much shorter period. A great many of the most significant poets of the time, including Rupert Brooke, D.H. Lawrence, Siegfried Sassoon, and Isaac Rosenberg, were published in the series Georgian Poetry, 5 volumes between 1912 and 1922, but they cannot be properly classified together. Robert Graves was one of the central figures in English poetry for more than 50 years. He was associated with the publication of Georgian poetry. He wrote a considerable amount of poetry between then and his collected poems in 1975. More significant than Georgian poetry, although short lived as a movement, were the Imagist poets, whose first anthology, Des Imagists, in 1914 was edited by the American exile Ezra Pound. James Joyce was among contributors to Des Images, and D.H. Lawrence's poetry can frequently be considered Imagist, although he was not directly associated with the group. D.H. Lawrence was a prolific poet, especially of nature. His close-up descriptions of flowers, Bavarian gentians, or animals like snake, kangaroo, mountain lion, bat penetrate deep into the essence of living things and are among the most carefully observed depictions of nature in English poetry. Then he also wrote the poem The Ship of Death. Then he also wrote love poems in 1913. Then Look, We Have Come Through in 1917 and Birds, Beasts and Flowers in 1923 are significant volumes. Then he also wrote collected poems in 1928, which brings together his prodigious poetic output. Norman Cameron came close to imagism in his use of a single image to make a poem. The poet Dylan Thomas said, "A poem by Cameron needs no more than one image." Writing against the current of the times, Cameron's poetry, his collected poems in 1957, with an introduction by his friend and mentor Robert Graves, has been critically neglected, as has Graves, but both are likely to undergo critical re-evaluation. David Gascoyne published his first volume of poems, Roman Balcony, in 1932, when he was 16. He became known for his translation of European writers, many of them surrealists, and his A Short Survey of Surrealism in 1935 was very influential. He continued to publish through the 1930s, and his poems from 1937 to 1942, published in 1943, placed him at the forefront of the writing of his time. He continued to publish to a very old age, with collected poems appearing in 1965 and 2 volumes of his journals in 1978 and 1980. For many, Gascoyne remains the finest poet linking the 1930s and 1940s. Charlotte Mew became well known for her first volume of poetry, The Farmer's Bride, in 1915. Although she was a contemporary of the Georgians, her poems have a combination of restraint and passion which set her apart. Her second volume, The Rambling Sailor, appeared after her death by suicide in 1928. Then she has also written the poem In Nunhead Cemetery, which is there in the collection of the volume The Farmer's Bride. And few lines are given from the poem in the book, and the lines are, "There is something horrible about a flower. This broken in my hand is one of those. He threw in just now. It will not live another hour. Here are thousands more. You do not miss a rose." If you have any doubts or query, you can ask me in the comment section below, or you can even message me in the social media IDs that are given below in the description box. And do share the video to all those who wants to be the part of this literary journey. So that's all for today's video. Thank you and signing out.